We are blessed that we have a wonderful senior WBAI intern, Georgina Hahn, who just produced this segment on what people on the street think about the legacy of MLK, and it ends with a reading of an amazing quote from Dr. King.
I took the A train to Nostrand Avenue and got off in Bed-Stuy. It was around 3:15 on a bright and chilly Tuesday. I visited the neighborhood to ask people what they think of Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy.
He left a big legacy, Dr. Martin Luther King.
He was a great leader, and he did the civil rights movement.
His legacy is trying to bring everybody together, regardless to color, your way of life. He just want everybody to live peacefully as one.
I happened upon comedian Keith Collins, who reminded me how recent the colossal changes are for African Americans.
I'm African American. 50 years ago, my grandmother and great-grandmother were picking cotton in South Carolina and then moved to New York City. And then 50 years before that, people were still sharecroppers and, it's like the early 1900s and getting hanged and shot. And then 50 years before that, so 150 years ago, they were slaves. There's still an ideal and a reference that black people have to walk through this country today and feel a certain way or feel not necessarily attacked, but it's like, okay, well, I got to understand my place in the world. But Martin Luther King didn't want it that way. And they fought, and everybody who was part of the civil rights movement fought very, very hard for many years to get that changed. And luckily legislation did change it on the legislation side. But on the societal side, it hasn't changed a whole lot.
And while Dr. King was assassinated only 50 years ago, he's transitioned into sort of mythical character.
He's mythical. He was mythical when I was growing up. So right by now he's even moving into obscurity, bigger than a myth. I'm a theater teacher, so I've recently been rereading Couture Hall's The Mountaintop, which is inspired by his life.
People in Bed-Stuy feel the leaders of today operate in sharp contrast to the peaceful, thoughtful, and equitable messages of Dr. King.
His legacy is being shared and should continue to be shared throughout the world with children of all ages as well as adults who are not aware. And I believe his legacy should be shared in our higher institutions regarding government. Officials at this time could use a little bit of Dr. Martin Luther King's words as well as his outlook on life.
People that lead in this world right now, when the children have to look at them, they're not teaching our children anything but disharmony. So the children don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to accept religion if they're religious. They don't know how to. They don't know how to be kind. They don't know how to appreciate certain things. It's sad, but we can only hope things will get better.
The U.S. government is currently deciding how to close the United States to people who they have decided do not belong. This excerpt from Dr. King offers an alternative. I should like to discuss with you some aspects of the American dream. For in a real sense, America is essentially a dream as yet unfulfilled. It is a dream of a land where men of all races, of all nationalities, and of all creeds can live together as brothers. One of the first things we notice in this dream is an amazing universalism. It does not say some men, but it says all men. It does not say white men, but it says all men, which included black men. Ever since the founding fathers of our nation dreamed this noble dream, America has been something of a schizophrenic personality, tragically divided against herself. On the one hand, we have profoundly professed the principles of democracy, and on the other, we have sadly practiced the very antithesis of those principles. May I suggest some of the things we must do if we are to make the American dream a reality? First, I think all of us must develop a world perspective if we are to survive. The American dream will not become a reality devoid of the larger dream of a world of brotherhood and peace and goodwill. The world in which we live is a world of geographical oneness, and we are challenged now to make it spiritually one. Those were the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm Georgina Hahn for WBAI, listener-supported radio. Happy Martin Luther King Day.
That was a wonderful segment produced by senior WBAI intern Georgina Hahn.